Let's welcome lead architect at Otterman USA, Vladimir Ulogov. Welcome.
Good afternoon. What I will be talking about, I will not teach you how to create the visualization for the Zabbix. This discussion will not be about that. But what this discussion will be about is about certain facts and certain facts about how different components of the Zabbix plays the role in, as been said, complex environment. And to define what the complex environment is, the complex environment, it's not only environment that have a lot of components to monitor. The complex environment do have a lot of different users and a lot of people who rely on the output of the monitoring platform to do their job. And in this conference, there is like pretty much pointless to talk about importance of the monitoring data. But while Zabbix can create a very complex and sophisticated monitoring UI, I will, as mentioned, talk about the context, how to organize this. And a couple of points need to be understood before I continue. First, the role of the monitoring platform for the different category of the users. When we create observability architectures and observability configurations, we often forget for whom we are making this configuration, who will be the user. And the first fact is the majority of the users who will use that monitoring platform, Zabbix included, they are not experts in observability and monitoring. They are experts in their respective fields, like SRE, like DevOps, security, analytics, and so on. So first fact, don't expect your users be observability experts. Next, and the second fact is don't expect superhuman abilities from your users. Users do have natural constraints in cognitive and cognitive processing of the data, including visual data. And those abilities are diminished even more if the users are working under stress. The more stress users experience, the less data they can process. If you wanted to halt your NOC operations in the middle of the crisis, show them 50 line graphs with 50 items in each line graph. So truly effective monitoring and observability when it comes to the visualization shows to the users what they need to do their job. Not what we can show them, but what the users need. And this is very important to understand. It is really advisable, even before you will start to think about what you're going to visualize, how you build your visualization strategy, to actually talk to the users at one of the steps. And no, that was not a Zabbix screenshot. So that was a screenshots from the National Synchrotron Brookhaven Laboratory. So what the users expect to see from the visualization? Something like this. Something direct, to the point, and that will show them what they expect to see. What the users in the visualization world frequently receive is something like this. So, what is the important and what this situation tells us? To have a bad visualization, it's actually worse than don't have any visualization at all, because bad visualization will mislead people. So how to standardize, how to build a meaningful visualization? First, we need to understand who is our users. And in my world where I'm living right now, I identified that I deal with the two major categories, types of the users. That is operation personnel and analytical personnel. Of course, I do have people who occasionally fit in this and this category, like a security people, DevOps, but the general distinction between those two categories of the users, for me, for the Amadeus, it's very visible. And what's the distinction between those categories? Operational people, they expect to be to respond on the problem and the process data in the near real time. Analytics don't have that requirement. Visualization role for the operation people, it's a secondary, because mainly they depend on the ticketing systems and the problem reports. For the analytics, visualization is the primary. Focus, what's the operation personnel is focusing on? They focus on the troubleshooting. What's the analytics focusing? They focusing on analysis, they processing the data. What's the expectations from those two categories? For the operational people, they expect that observability platform tells them what's wrong. Analytics expect the observability platform shows them relevant data they're looking for. And the goals of those two categories of the users are different. If one expected to keep the system up and running, the second, they involved in analysis of the data to keep optimization and tuning. A little bit about our biology, which often is misunderstood. This is our eye, and the nature of the eye, we see, we have a sharp focus in the center of our vision, but on the peripheral of our vision, we can clearly see the shapes and the colors. Why? Because our eye made that way. And when we do visualization, when we do dashboards, we need to take this in account. So in the center, like general rule, put what shows details. In the peripheral, put what shows angles, shapes, colors, because humans are still analog creatures. We are not digital creatures. We see colors, shapes, etc., etc. Next, color wheel. The green, yellow, and red in the traffic light, it's not a fashion statement. It's a contrasting colors. I've seen the people putting on the dashboard violet and blue in the same graph. Why? Because they can. Is that a good idea? No. So when you are creating your visualization, make sure you are using contrasting colors. And the eyes of the humans made that way that for the center, it gravitates to yellow, and for the peripheral, it gravitates to the orange. So in the center of your screen, the color choice is red, yellow, green. In the peripheral, it's orange, violet, and yeah, orange, violet, and yellow, or what it's another green. So next, what we need to also take into account is our field of the vision. Again, in the center, details; in the peripheral, it's shapes and angles. So what else is important for the meaningful visualization? Is there how much effort takes to process a certain widget? The more information widget contains, the more time and brain power user shall take and process that information. And for the operational personnel, time sometimes goes in the seconds. And the focus out of focus, again, center, peripheral. So that's the first recommendation. Which Zabbix widgets are easy, which is hard? Maps, geomaps, easy, medium. Problems, hard. Why the problems hard? Because you need to read them. You need to use your brain power to understand what it shows to you. Why the gauge is easy? Because it's just angles. You can glance on the gauge and get information and read information from the gauge quick. Pie charts, it's a very easy widget as far as the brain capacity goes. Clock is easy, but yeah, only if you need the clock. Next, alignment of the widgets for operation and analytics. This table will show you which widgets are usable for which type of the user. For example, as you can clearly see, for analytics, the widgets are more analog, the one that doesn't require of the users to spend a lot of time to understand the data. For the analytics, there is no such requirement. Screen layout, I'm almost over. Screen layout. When we look at the screen, we generally following the eye path. What does this mean? Again, I'm talking about majority of the people, there are exceptions. First, when the people look at the screen, they look at the center. This means the most important information that you put on your dashboard must be in the zone 1, which is in the center of the screen. Next, people start to look up and down. This means the zone number 2, that's your second most valuable piece of property. And then they look left and right. So peripheral zones 3 and 4, your next choice for displaying the information, and put the widgets on them. And based on the screen layout and complexity of the widgets, I came up with the recommendation which widgets must go to the which zone. It's clearly to see that maps, or that's something which contains a lot of data, a lot of details, goes in the zone 1. Lesser number of the details in the zone 2, and the widgets which suitable for the peripheral vision, such as honeycomb or gauge, they goes in zone 3 and zone 4, which is peripheral. And in the gray, they are widgets that I find almost useless for specific role. For example, I didn't find any use for the clocks. Maybe your situation differ than mine. And the final word, what's important to understand that visualization came from the long line of the industrial and transportation real-time visualization, not from the business data visualization. And visualization of the real-time telemetry must be treated within the scope of those traditions. And now that's about me, and I'm ready to take questions. 2 minutes for the questions.
Thank you. We have one question, and I guess I think you've already answered it in part, but the question is, how essential do you think in general is it to understand like human biology or human psychology when you are creating these kinds of visualizations and dashboards?
Depends. It's actually more important than many people think, and especially true for operation personnel. So because those people oftentimes work under stress, those people don't have a time to read long documents or parse, elaborate on complex widgets to get the data. Understanding how the eye of the people working, how the people conceive and process the information, it's pretty much vital. Like you cannot avoid just ignoring them. For the analytics, it's lesser important, but still I think it is very important because you wanted to present the data in the most palatable, in the most understood way. So present the data, as I already mentioned, the way that the people expect to see, not the way you think it best.
And I think this ties very nicely with speeches that we had a year or 2 years before about generating noise and dealing with flapping problems, because there's also a lot of psychology over there and how people see problems and react to them, and at one point they get burnt out. And I think similarly over here, a person could get burnt out by just overwhelming visualizations like you showed
Yes.
in one of the first slides.
And of course, there's a lot of topics that I didn't even touch. For example, how evil scrolling is. So if you want my last recommendation, don't do scrolling. Vertical scrolling, bad. Horizontal scrolling, absolutely evil. Don't do it. Like if you wanted to build a meaningful visualization, don't do scrolling. I have more recommendations, but I'm out of time.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
will not do scrolling, guys.